if I could snap my fingers, it would just be everyone has their basic needs met.
Yeah.
No one's starving. Everyone has housing, healthcare, and in the limited amount that I've analyzed the U.S. budget, at least just the U.S. budget, right? I'm just talking about the United States right here. Obviously, the world has its own issues all over, but just analyzing here, I do believe that there are ways that we could offer these basic needs to everyone.
Welcome to episode 100 of People Are the Answer. This is a special episode. Two of my favorite people in the whole world are here. They inspired People Are the Answer because they are two of the people that are the answer in the world. I've got my BFF who is on episode 1, Alex Hodara.
Hello.
As well as my fellow BOF, Vin Vomero. This is his first appearance on People Are the Answer.
Thanks for having me.
Vin, so happy to have you on. And we are here on one of our HPM trips where, for the viewers, Hodara Property Management was the first company we all started together in college. We can dig into that more later, but we do trips, kind of yearly, like a little less. What did we say yesterday?
Not 9 total trips.
In how many years?
Since 2010.
All right. So 9 and 14 is pretty good.
Pretty solid.
We've got new babies coming into the mix in these families, so we had to fit one in beforehand, sort of an HPM baby moon.
I love that.
And so now we're here. We are at a beautiful beach house in New York, and let's see. We mentioned Alex, and I was on the first episode, so definitely check out episode 1 of People Are the Answer if you want to learn more about Alex in more depth beyond what you'll get here. And I do want to get the viewers, you guys, to know Vin a little bit. Tell me a little bit about what you're up to. Where did you grow up? What was it like? What motivates you?
Sure. So, I grew up in New York, wound up, going to Boston University, and that's where I met you and Alex. I guess like a little bit of background on as my career. Like I wouldn't say I was super entrepreneurial, like growing up, as a kid. Probably the most entrepreneurial thing I did was like collect, when I was growing up, there were a lot of homes on our block. It was a new development. So there were a lot of homes that were under construction, and we would go around and collect the the cans and the bottles that the construction workers left there. And then we would go, return those and use that money to like buy candy at the local deli or something. So my entrepreneurial journey really started in college after I met you and Alex, and wound up getting my real estate license and working for Alex for a summer as a rental agent. Hated doing that, and then we wound up starting Hodara Property Management together, and things kind of went from there.
Yeah, no, I love it. And you mentioned growing up in New York. In life in general, what would you say motivates you? It's a tough question. I like the hard hitters.
Yeah, it's a tough question. Without you got to prep work around.
It's just where does your brain go when I say that?
At the end of the day, so I come from a family of healthcare professionals. So I always grew up around, my parents were just helping people as a doctor and a nurse. And so at the end of the day, I think I get a lot of joy out of just helping people solve their problems, right? In the same way that doctors and nurses help people solve problems. Yeah, no, I love that. And I find that people that have parents in sort of caring roles like that certainly try to do some element of that themselves. And obviously they were very influential in your life. Normally at this moment, I'll ask my guests about, any kind of story from childhood that you remember, that made you want to give back or just sort of set the precedent for giving back, whether it was your parents or something else, regardless of which side of the equation you're on. Anything that kind of made you think about that as a kid? I don't think there's one specific story, but my family, I think going on 35 years now, my dad's been the medical director for the Marty Lyons Foundation. And so growing up, we were always going to the charity events that they were hosting. And so I think just, seeing, my parents be involved with the Marty Lyons Foundation, and my mom as well, always volunteering, at the events, just setting that example for us, throughout our, entire childhood, and still to this day, my dad's still the medical director there. Yeah. is just, I think that's where, a lot of this come from.
And just for edification, what is the Marty Lyons Foundation?
They grant wishes to terminally ill children. So that's what they raise money for.
Awesome. Well, I love that you do that work. Let's just, I definitely want to get some to Alex, but I also just want to get a little bit more of your background across. Like, the three of us in college started real estate businesses. We continued to grow those after college. And tell us about, Foxy and how you got into that and what you're up to now as the founder and CEO of FoxyAI.
Yeah, so FoxyAI came out of some of the work that we were doing as real estate developers, and when we had an appraisal on a project come back lower than expected, and we had the property reappraised, everything worked out just fine, but that kind of sent me down this rabbit hole on AI, computer vision, and other ways of valuing real estate when I learned that there was no way to understand property condition at scale. You just had to manually look at photos or physically visit the property. And AI wasn't quite like the buzzword that it is today.
And when did you start Foxy?
This was in 2018 officially. I probably started, thinking on this in like 2016.
Yeah.
But 2018 officially. And so we started building models to assess the quality and condition of a property from the photos based on the same scale that appraisers use today. But then that grew into a platform of over like 40 different AI and computer vision models. We work with companies kind of across the real estate vertical to integrate these models into their businesses and their workflows to help automate aspects of that workflow, particularly anywhere there are large volumes of property photos.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thanks for sharing. It's been fun to be along for the journey and to watch Foxy grow. And then, Alex, we talked last time about sort of your, post-real estate endeavor, if you will, Rocket Club, incredible organization. So remind us what Rocket Club is and kind of give us an update from where it's been in the last 100 episodes.
Sure. So, hey, Jeff, thanks for having us. Appreciate it. This house has been incredible. Yeah, as Jeff said, also our 9th trip, which is wild. It's unbelievable. 9 different trips. Maybe we'll dig into some of the trips on this podcast.
Yeah.
All right. So Rocket Club's an after-school program for kids. It's the club that I wished I had when I was a kid. Most recently, we've opened 2 new locations in New York City that are focused on math tutoring. So we opened one up, both street-level locations, one in Tribeca, one on the Upper East Side. And we are tapping into what kids are interested in. So if you're interested in sports, we're building a math curriculum that's based around your interests. If you're interested in baking, same concept. And every month,
cool.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, like I grew up. So my dad, I grew up a huge baseball fan. Still am a huge baseball fan. Go Yankees! Whenever you're watching this, Yankees are about to play in the World Series. Very, very, very exciting. But my dad got me into fantasy baseball really early on in my life, and that's where I learned all of my math skills. And I learned that like when I was learning math through doing fantasy baseball, which was like balancing a budget and looking at player stats and projecting future results, I didn't realize that I was learning math. So that really inspired me to create this business where we are making it extremely fun. Like when you think of tutoring at this point in any child who's thinking about tutoring, they're thinking about it like, oh, I have to go to this after school program. It's, a continuation of school. Maybe it makes me feel bad about myself. Like we are doing something that we think is special. We're basically building the club that we wish we had when we were kids. And we really are feeling as though our members are coming to Rocket Club and really feeling special about themselves, which is really the whole point, right? When you're a kid and you feel special about what you're doing. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the camera. That's why you're looking at me.
Yeah. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Now I get it.
You don't need to start over or anything.
No, you can leave this in. This is solid for me. All right. Sorry.
No, you're good.
We're off
good.
to a
It's
solid
fine.
start.
We're off to a solid start. Yeah. All right. I'm going to now look at Jeff because I just was told that I should not be looking at the camera. So, yeah. Sorry about that. But yeah, we're building the business that we're building the club that we wish we had when we were kids. And our members are feeling really excited about math, feeling really excited about themselves. Some of them are figuring out what they want to be when they grow up, and it's exciting.
And I love it, and I think math is so foundational to success in life. And I like looking back on my school experience, I was always or frequently very bored. And so like to think I could have learned any topic that I was struggling with like through hockey or something that I was into is pretty incredible. So I just can imagine how much more I would have learned.
Yeah. I mean, and we only have a little over 100 members at both locations, right? So 200 kids when there's millions in the United States. So I'm hoping, too, that Rocket Club and other programs like ours inspire more schools and after-school programs to tap into what children are interested in. That's my goal.
Yeah, I think in general in education, we're finding that kids, everybody has their own way of learning. And our education system has so long just been a box they throw everybody in. And now we're starting to actually tailor it more individually, and technology is certainly helping with that. I've had guests like Kelly Smith from Prenda and Meredith Olson, who have talked a lot about some of the unique, customizable sort of education options out there, and it just really excites me that like we're gonna have kids that are excited to learn. That's like and feel good, like you said.
Absolutely.
So I love what Rocket Club's doing, and really excited to continue to watch the growth. And, you mentioned kind of going back to our HPM trips and HPM. I mean, if you guys check out whatever episodes are about me, we'll throw them in the comments. I did a couple episodes about me, and I talk about kind of our first endeavor into real estate by, buying a frat house that was 2 units, 7 beds on each side, and that, owned it for 6 profitable years, learned a shit ton. It was not easy, especially like us managing the property as seniors in college.
Especially Vin.
Yeah, I mean, especially Vin. Vin was the hardest worker on that, no question. And so, yeah, like I gave my version of it in that episode. Like, what do you guys remember about that and that time? Whichever one of you wants to start.
I mean, I remember having just a ton of fun. I think we were all just flying by the seat of our pants. So I was, for sure. I mean, I studied biology in college before I got involved in real estate with you guys, and obviously didn't come from a real estate family in any way. So was really learning on the fly. And fortunately, I am a little bit handy with like fixing things. So
you're very handy,
and we're not.
Correct.
Right.
Jeff and I.
So when we started out, like I was doing like the bookkeeping and the maintenance and like the shoveling at the property when it would snow and all that stuff. And there were certainly some challenges, like you said, with managing a frat house of kids that are basically the same age.
Well, my mindset at the time was like, if we take really good care of the property and good care of them, they'll obviously pay that back, right?
That would be the hope.
That's not how college kids are.
No, and unfortunately, no.
I mean, we were college kids also, which like was a strange dynamic for them. Like we came in and had a meeting with them, like, hey, we're the new owners of your house.
Yeah.
That was. I don't remember a ton about that meeting, but
I do. I mean, they cheered when we walked in. Like they were so excited. They thought they were gonna get away with anything, and we were like, no, we have an actual business to run here.
Yeah, like we just do this for fun.
Yeah.
There were many challenges over the years, not just with them, but I think particularly with the frat house.
Yeah, with all sorts of properties that we ended up managing, and you definitely took on the brunt of the difficulty, I'd say.
You did. Thank you, Vin. Officially, thank you so much.
Well, I enjoyed it, at least for some time. Property management's a pretty thankless job.
Yeah.
Right? Because everything is, like something goes wrong at your house, right? The toilet gets clogged, like somehow it's your fault.
They don't call to tell you like, hey, we're really loving living in your property. Like,
you just hear the problem.
Well, I think it's gonna be wild for P and Aria to maybe watch this one day, and your son in the future. It was Vin's about to have a child, by the way. Yeah, in number 3. But them to understand that you once were a property manager, like in college, it's really freaking cool.
I always found the kind of people's work journeys really interesting.
Yeah.
I always remember.
You should check out People Are the Answer.
I heard it's a good podcast. Solid, yeah.
I remember my grandfather, talking about his dad passed away when he was young, and he was still in high school. He left high school. He never graduated until many years later. He got like a honorary GED or something like that. But left high school, and I think he was working in like a pharmacy for a little while just to help support the family, and then he was in the military for a little while, and then corrections officer, eventually became a New York City firefighter for 33 years and rose to the rank of captain. But I find it interesting that people just start in different places and they wind up in completely different places.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to explore with like guests on the show. It's like, how did you get to where you are? And like, sure, sometimes it's like they went through the traditional steps you might imagine to go to that spot, but more often than not, it's like, I worked in a restaurant and that led me to this, or like I was really into this and that somehow made me work at a bank. And then it's just always like that.
Definitely. Yeah. What I remember most from that first deal was just the first time we really understood an income statement. I remember we went to Mark Levy's house. Remember that? And he explained to us the income statement, literally revenue. This is your revenue. This is your expense. This is your net income. This is your debt. And just like understanding all of those basics and then translating it over to this first building, because the cash flow from this building, even though it was really difficult to manage, was incredible.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I mean, you ended up selling that for an incredible profit, but it was all based on the cash flow. Like that was our basis. That was the beginning of us understanding how this business worked. And we started with a frat house and then we started to build from there. But for me, it was just amazing for you to give us, Vin and I, the opportunity. That was our first opportunity. Like that was the first building that we sold and managed. And that was incredible. So officially, Jeff, as well as thank you for managing it, thank you for giving us that opportunity, because that started our whole career.
Yeah, I mean, me too. It was fun doing it all together. And yeah, I mean, certainly look back fondly on, working in college and not caring about class. Sorry, BU. It was, I remember like senior year just being like, I don't really want to go to class. I just want to like figure out this real estate stuff. Like, so I don't know if you guys had that going on.
A little bit, yeah. Pretty much the entire time, yeah.
Yeah, so like to summarize sort of where HPM went, at least the way I summarize it, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is like, basically we did that for years. We built up our additional properties, started managing additional properties as well, realized we didn't really want to manage properties, made a nice little deal with Keith Harrington, the best property manager in the world.
Agreed.
And we're from there focused more on the actual acquisition and development of properties after, sort of light exiting HPM.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much sums it up. It was from 2009 to 2013. Mm-hmm. It was kind of when we transitioned from the management to focusing on like, the development side full time, and kind of halfway in there. Alex and I, we bought the 3-family house in Alston.
Yeah.
Had that huge, 4-alarm fire in it.
Mm-hmm.
Chester, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
110 Chester Street, and we completely renovated that house, and that was an amazing project. And then the other clients that we were managing property for kind of said, hey, like, well, we also want to now buy distressed assets. Can you sell these to us and then manage the projects? And that's how we got into like the investing and like renovating, apartments.
Yeah. And you guys had a web series reality show around it, Making Moves. Is that still available online?
It is not available online anymore. I know. It's on my computer. We can watch it later if you want.
Yeah.
There's some pretty solid episodes.
But what if the audience wants to see? We'll see how much the demand is.
Maybe one day we'll bring it back.
But no, to like be real about that time, I, for the audience's sake, like I moved out of Boston after school, and I was originally going to stay and decided to move to Chicago. Still was involved from afar, but I was definitely like a little jealous of all the fun you guys were having making moves. So it was a lot of fun though to watch it from afar as well.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's funny to watch, like look back on those episodes, and we're like, wow, we were so little, we were so young. So immature, but it was fun. Yeah. It was fun.
I love it. Well, we can certainly dig into the real estate deeper another time, but I also wanted to make sure to cover some of the questions that I ask guests, with Vin while he's here. And, maybe I'll just skip directly to the big one. If you could snap your fingers and change one thing in the world, what would it be, and how do you think that change would reverberate?
Man, Jeff, you ask some difficult questions. Just
I try. I get people.
I think today there's so much division in the world. Like everything needs to be left or right, or black and white. Like when the reality is that I really believe that the majority of people are like in the gray, right? Like they aren't so polarized, but the way that we interact with our phones and the way that society is kind of like set up today, it's set up to amplify certain perspectives and certain sides.
Things that grab attention, things that are loud.
Right, and a lot of that, is negative things.
Yeah, negative stuff gets people's attention. Yeah,
I think that's really unfortunate. I think the 24-hour news cycle where they just have to be, like constantly putting out content, basically, just, like people do, influencers or whoever, are doing as well. And so there's a lot more negative content, I think, that they can put out, and that gets more eyeballs. So, if there's one thing that I would like to see change is for a lot of that. I don't know if the solution is for it to just go away or just for people to kind of like wake up and realize a little bit more about what's going on.
Yeah.
Some of the manipulation that's happening, and then people just come together and live in harmony a little bit more.
Yeah. So I think you'd try to sow the division, like, sometimes answers to these questions involve like giving everyone empathy or like, making some way of like removing that divide. So that's what you're going for? Yeah, no, I mean, it would certainly be tremendous in our society if we could do that. And I think, through this show, through other methods, we're exploring the various ways to do that.
Yeah, now that we're talking about it a little bit more, I think one way to do that, I think people get very fixated and focused on what other people are doing, and like
especially with social media.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if people actually focused on themselves a little bit more, like we're a little bit more selfish and like, how can I just improve myself?
Yeah, not even selfish. Yeah, just like sort of being more in their own lives and mindful and like in the moment, and like social media just serves to really take you out of yourself and your own life in many ways.
Right. I mean, if your own life isn't in order and organized, then how can you, influence like the lives of others? Like,
right.
Just the next step out, like the company that you're running, right? How can you help them if your life isn't
right,
well put together? And then you can take that a step further. How can you help like your community, right? And then you can keep going, up and up in terms of scale. But I think if people focus on themselves and like bettering themselves and trying to be the best version of themselves a little bit more, then that would in turn make like society as a whole.
Yeah. I love that. I very much feel that every human has intense potential, and like when nurtured, the possibilities are just so remarkable. And so, yeah, in this sort of instance, in this picture that you're painting, that's kind of the case, is people focusing on themselves, help themselves get closer to their actual potential, and how does that change the world?
Exactly.
Yeah. What do you think on that?
I have two answers to that.
Yeah.
First one is the same answer that I had 100 episodes ago. If I could snap my fingers, it would just be everyone has their basic needs met.
Yeah.
No one's starving. Everyone has housing. Healthcare. And, in the limited amount that I've analyzed the U.S. budget, at least just the U.S. budget, right? I'm just talking about the United States right here. Obviously, the world has its own issues all over. But just analyzing here, I do believe that there are ways that we could offer these basic needs to everyone.
I agree. I mean, I think like in sort of like libertarian circles that I sometimes am in, and in a more conservative crowd, sometimes like people think, oh, well, you're just giving stuff away. That's like, it's like kind of communist in a way. And I think the reality is like, if we have enough resources on our planet to get everybody to a different base level, like we should do it regardless of all of those things. Mm-hmm. Like, I think putting everybody on that much of a level playing field, at least, I'm not saying everybody should have a mansion. Like,
right.
I think it would just go the longest of ways. And like, unfortunately, our society is so motivated by dollars. And I think that you can be motivated by both dollars and humanity and have them work in conjunction with each other. But so much of our society is people that are just focused on the dollars and cents. And that leaves all these people behind and not getting on this baseline. So yeah, I mean, I dream of a world certainly where people have that baseline covered, where they don't have to worry about it. They can focus on, reaching their potential. I
do want to be clear though. I do still think that we will have very serious issues when we are able to provide everything at a baseline. It's just that it will give everyone a chance for at least a brief moment in time, right? And like you can't control what everyone does out there, right? Yeah. Like Vin was saying, like if we focus on ourselves, that's kind of all we can really handle, right? Yeah. Like, And, you know, people are the answer though, right? Like we are doing the best we can for everyone else in our lives. And if you don't mind, Jeff, my second part of the answer is I'd like to like turn it to you a little bit if you're okay with that.
Sure.
If people are more like Jeff Zucker, this world would be a much better place. Vin and I actually prepared a couple words, if it's okay, if we could read a couple words.
I've got some notes here, so you don't mind me reading.
No, that's fine. You do your thing.
But we wanted to share a message with Keelan and Rowan. So when you guys listen to this one day,
my boys,
they're your boys. I hope you realize how lucky you are to have Jeff as your dad. He's, I think, the most generous person Alex and I have ever met. He really gives with his whole heart and just asks for nothing in return. Alex and I are fortunate to have to know your grandma Anita, who's exactly the same way. And although we never met your grandfather, it's clear from the stories that Jeff became the man he is because of his amazing parents. So you're both incredibly lucky to be raised by Jeff and Jess, and I know that you will carry on the legacy of generosity.
Thank you. It was very nice.
And as I prepare to become a parent, my wife Megan is due in about 2 months now. Very exciting. I've been thinking a lot about how it's not just what parents say, but what kids see their parents do that truly shapes them. And Jeff, you are the way you are because of what you saw your parents do. And Vin and I talked about this when you asked us to come on the podcast. We talked about how we believe Keelan and Rowan will be just as generous as you are because of the example that you and Jess set. There are countless examples of generosity that you've told Vin and I over the years about your parents. But can you share one moment from your childhood where your parents gave wholeheartedly to someone that stuck with you and helped shape who you are today?
Well, first off, thank you for the kind words. I certainly didn't bring you here to praise me, but yeah, I mean, certainly want to teach my children to be generous. And in terms of, like a lot of it was just like the love and care they took with everyone in so many ways. Like, there were so many people that they would help without telling anybody about. It wasn't about that. It was just about like giving people good lives. And that's how I feel. It's like, I just want to do stuff to make people feel good. And just like, maybe it's not the perfect example, but it's the one that comes to mind. Like every holiday season, my family has a variety of employees in various businesses, and every holiday season, like my parents would get really into the holiday parties, not so much in like the party itself and making it a crazy party or anything, but like making sure, like basically in the bonuses they would give, and then at the events there'd be prizes and there would be like spin wheels, and like they would just make it really fun, and like everybody would win something, whether it was my dad handing $100 bill to them or like a TV or like, a gift card for groceries or whatever. It was good stuff. And I just remember the depth of care they put into it. And the thought that they put into it, just because they knew how much it was going to like brighten these lives and it was going to change the holidays for their family potentially. And that was like a root of me always knowing like that people are the answer, that like you have to take amazing care of your people because they're doing that for you. They're taking care of their families. Like they're sacrificing portions of their lives. Like, I just think it just showed me how important it is to take care of people. And I mean, just to think of like whether this was the ice rink that we owned locally or our restaurant or our hockey team, like everybody got, or it was the corporate office, like everybody got sort of the same level of fun at that event, and obviously taken care of throughout the year. But, one thing that I remember is just like, we had a couple of employees, who were immigrants, but had been in the States for a really long time. And, my dad just knew that they would love this, and he basically like gave them their bonus in $1 bills in a box, because like he knew the people really deeply and like knew they would have a lot of fun with it. So I just remember him like coming from the bank and like crinkling these ones for him and stuff, and like I remember the person getting it, and just like I remember the happiness on his face and the excitement to go through it and figure it all out and just count it and stuff. So just like lots of little things like that, I think, just taking care of people, making sure that people have what they need at least the people in your life, if you can't control everybody getting their baseline, but if you can control the people in your life, hopefully helping them get a baseline, you can improve the lives around you at least. If you're enjoying this episode, I would greatly appreciate if you could review, like, comment, or subscribe on your favorite platforms. Your engaged support goes a long way in helping the show grow and getting our impactful guests heard. Now back to the show.
We took that story when we were developing buildings. Mike was our contractor doing the work, especially on Raining Combos, a project that we did together. Sorry, that Raining Combos was 4 buildings. We named it after the Workaholics guys. It's a small joke. Yeah, it's a small joke from Workaholics. But we gave Mike a box of 1s, and he was very confused by that. He was very, very
different
confused.
Strokes for different folks, I suppose.
And it was a different era as well,
Yes.
inflation.
Yes.
We probably should have put 5s or 10s, something like that. But, we're learning. We're learning.
All right, yeah. So don't take these home with you. They worked at the time, but... Well, yeah, no, I love that you were able to implement it in some capacity, though.
Jeff, along the lines of like inspiration, who's someone that you helped that either like inspired you or changed you in return in an unexpected way as well?
I think everyone does that I engage with. I mean, I don't like talking that much about specific experiences because I don't do them for recognition. Certainly there are people who have been on tough times that I'm just like, I have been fortunate to be given the means to not have to worry about money in the kind of situation that they're in. And I want to share that with them so that they can focus on what's important, their family, their health, etc. So, I mean, I do sometimes help people in times of need. I'm certainly not asking a bunch of people to come and ask. I certainly am limited in my capacity, but that's certainly something that has done as much or more for me than for the other individuals.
I know you don't like talking about yourself and the things that you do, but I think it's really important that people hear more about that and that you're recognized for that.
I appreciate it.
Or just that people understand how much you have given and how much you give. It's wild. Like, I don't think that your listeners really comprehend it exactly. Like, when you explain it to us, because we're your close friends and we hear about it, we're like, whoa, okay, that's wild. It's just beyond what people could imagine. But obviously, like Jeff just mentioned, like, please do not come at him and ask him for things. Please, he gives too much already. So
yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, I always want to stretch my capacity for giving to the point that I can, as long as I can still keep my family relatively comfortable. So anyway, let's dig back into the HPM trips.
You don't want to keep talking about yourself?
No, I've had enough personally, but so we wanted to go on our trips. We said we've taken 9 over these 14 years.
Is this looser the rest of this podcast now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna break out the pickles. Right,
yeah, perfect. Get the pickles.
Yep.
Alex is a pickle aficionado.
Yeah. Oh, and these are the best, by the way. Clausen's. I'm a baby dill typically guy, but we got these.
The sandwich slices work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Clausen guy as well.
We went food shopping yesterday and bought a ridiculous amount of food for one day. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, we're not here long enough. We got to extend a day just to eat the rest.
Oh, that's
of
a
the
good idea.
snacks.
We should do that. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, we'll consider that. So yeah, these trips. I mean, I think it all started with when we went to New Orleans in 2010. It was a very last minute trip, and I at least didn't know that the Saints were in the Super Bowl at the same time. I'm good, thank you. I'm gonna eat some pickles later, though.
I'm good as well. Sure? Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, I didn't realize the Saints were in the Super Bowl, and we're going down to New Orleans. So that was a huge part of the trip. Can you guys remind me and the viewer what brought us there?
So we convinced this company called Ocean Safe to basically hire us as consultants, essentially, and we used that as an excuse to go down to New Orleans and go tour. They were building homes down there that were destroyed after Hurricane Katrina, and the Ocean Safe product was this hurricane proof.
It was SIPs, I remember, the steel insulated panels, right?
Yes, steel structural insulated panels, I think is what they're called.
Structural insulated panels.
So we convinced them to
cool stuff
for them, and I think we helped them build a new website and some stuff like that. And we went down there, and it did happen to be the Saints were in the Super Bowl at the same time, which I don't know that we realized.
No, I had no idea.
No, it was.
No clue.
And then we were like, wait a second, the Saints are in the Super Bowl. They were playing, I think, in Florida with the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was in Miami, but you couldn't tell based on the atmosphere. Everybody definitely acted like it was there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, we were like, well, we've got to stay for the Super Bowl. What if they win?
And they did. And it was a lot of fun. It was
You remember where we watched it?
Oh, we watched it at Rib Room. Is that what it was called? Or
I think Rib Room sounds right.
something like that.
It was a private party.
A fancy. Oh yeah, we can get into that story. So yeah, it was a real fancy restaurant. Basically, like it was creeping up to game time. We'd been like running around Bourbon Street, and we're like, "Well, shit, where are we gonna watch this?" And yeah, we walk into this fancy restaurant. I remember I had to go to the bathroom, and you guys were like figuring out what we were gonna do.
Well, I was kind of frozen. I didn't know what to do, but Vinny V came to the rescue.
Somebody had to bail us out. I mean, we weren't going to get into any place. Like, we weren't getting a reservation or anything. And they had I think it was upstairs. Kind of event room, and I managed to just slip through a back door. I think it was near where the bathrooms were, and somebody was coming out, and I just slipped in. And then they had a person at the main entrance to the event room, and I was like, hey, my two buddies are here, they're downstairs. I'm gonna go get them. I was just already at them.
Right.
They were like, oh yeah, no problem. And then I went downstairs and got you guys, and we came back up and wound up watching the Super Bowl in this, on a huge projector in this private party.
I mean, there were at least a couple dozen people there, and it was a family.
It was a family.
Definitely a family. So Vin, the vibe I got where everyone thought oh, that's somebody's cousin or something.
Yeah, I think everybody thought that, we were just right, exactly somebody's cousin.
Yeah, we were your business partners. We talked to them some.
Yeah, it was.
We've been looking for this family now for a few years, actually.
Yeah, if you're watching this, family, please hit us up, because that was
one
of the best nights of our entire lives. And we were hugging them by the end of the game.
Oh yeah, Vin, the brother and sister we were taking shots with, and then
Vin picked up the
Vin
baby.
held a baby.
He held the family's baby, and everyone's patting Vin on the
this
back.
Baby's a teenager now.
None of this made any sense, by the way. This was a family, and we were just in there, and Vin just integrated himself. Yeah, you were babysitting.
I don't know.
I mean, it's weird to trust your baby with a stranger, but if it feels like he's in the family, I get it. And
it's Vinny V though,
this kid's a teenager now. That's so cool.
That is pretty cool.
I want to know how that night with Vin shaped their lives.
And then they win the game, right? And we just run out.
So yeah, that was the bye to the family. It was the win, and we're all freaking out. Then we just literally sprint. Not because we were running away from them, but everybody in New Orleans was running outside.
No, yeah, everybody. I mean,
it was unbelievable.
Urban street, so yeah, everybody was in the streets partying.
You should really splice in some video into this to show the running down the street.
Vin and I are very thankful that Alex is a documentarian, and he has been for many years. He was carrying around the digital camera, taking random videos and pictures and stuff, and so he's made us a couple of cool videos over the years about various trips. Most notably, BU 2009 National Championship hockey in DC, and then the video from our New Orleans trip, which we can cut at least some clips of or something in probably, and it was a wild time.
It was awesome.
And so that one kicked off the tradition, and then what we did was after we company. We took
celebration trips.
Yeah, we just kind of kept a bunch of that money in the account, and we just made them into quote unquote business trips that we would take every year.
And when we would sell a building, we built Bartlett in the North End. Yep. We sold that, took a trip. After Raining Combos, after Caldwell, we took a trip. I mean, it's been cool. We've been celebrating as we go on.
We've been to some spots. We've been, we did New Orleans. A situation brought us to Jamaica. Happy to dig into that at some point if we want. Do you want to go through any of the other cities we've been to?
Montreal, went to Disney World.
Oh yeah, Disney World was tight.
Seattle,
Boise, we got the potatoes.
Yeah, good potatoes.
Boise was a fun one too.
Yeah, so we had some good ones.
Should we do the plug for Gushers now, or?
Oh yeah. Let's do the Gushers sponsor unofficially sponsors this.
Yeah, drop into some Gushers. Sponsored by Gushers. Would you guys like one?
I will hold one. They're very loud on the mic with the crinkling. So
yeah. Thank you, Gushers, for sponsoring our podcast.
But even though you didn't, but thank you. Yeah, so let's see. We've got our trips. I mean, yeah, we can talk a little bit about the Jamaica one. Like, I was trying to help a group create a hockey organization basically in Jamaica. They wanted to do like the same things that Jamaica did with the bobsled team, with a hockey team, and I believe that's still in process, and that they do have a national hockey team now, which is pretty cool. But like part of the pitch was that, you know, I had some experience with rinks, and we were maybe looking at setting up a rink down there to do tournaments around and stuff and attract hockey and people to the area. And yeah, I mean, we started off in Kingston, and we hadn't really spent a lot of time there before. It was an interesting place. Learned a lot about the culture, and then we moved over to Montego Bay, and we took probably a sketchy plane.
Probably sketchy?
I mean, it was very sketchy, especially the way back.
Sketchy.
We took it, I don't know, there's probably like 10 people on the plane, maybe?
I don't even think there was that many, like 6 or 8.
Yeah. But there was, not that this necessarily matters, but an American pilot that we talked to that like made us feel safe-ish on the way there-ish. And then the way back there, I remember, was quite turbulent.
Yeah, apparently the middle of Jamaica is somewhat mountainous. Through the mountains, and then a little plane hit a lot of turbulence. But yeah, Jeff asked Alex and I to go to Jamaica.
Oh yeah, sorry guys.
We just immediately, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, sounds good. Jamaica sounds.
Not realizing that, we were thinking that we were like, Jeff's gonna be doing his thing. Alex and I will just sit on.
It'll be tropical.
Yeah.
Kingston is not like the beach area of Jamaica. Like that's on, I think, like the northern side.
It's not like the luxurious spot, at least.
You're going to vacation, or like you said, you're going to Montego Bay or something like that. That's on the other side of the island. So when we got there, Alex and I were like, "Oh, this is not what we were expecting. We want to go to the beach." Like
we were in like what was like a fancy hotel-ish there, but it was really like 1970s. And I mean, I want to preface, or at least interject on all of this, that like we appreciate Jamaican culture and that it's a totally different country and environment than we come from. So it was just like it was an interesting experience for us in many ways. And I think we wouldn't have necessarily chosen to like spend that time in Kingston, but for me at least, I ended up learning more about the culture than you're going to learn from like the luxury properties. And not that the place we ended up going was super luxurious.
No, it was not luxurious at all.
spring break type hotel.
The whole thing was perfect. I loved it exactly what it was. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. It was ridiculous, and that was great.
Yeah.
And out, in Kingston, like local bar, and we had a lot of fun when we were there.
Yeah.
That was something.
That was a crazy one.
We had just like magical trips, like absolutely magical, because they were just like so weird and awesome.
Disney.
Yeah, we like weird stuff.
Yes, Disney was truly magical.
It was.
Remember the rocket ship ride?
Space Mountain?
Mission to Mars?
Mission.
Oh, like Mission, like Mission Space or whatever that one was called. Like my brother-in-law Daniel's gotten real into Disney World stuff. He's like his family there, and now he's a Disney World influencer. DFW Disney Dad on Instagram. And he was telling me about like all the updates recently and stuff. And
maybe
it
we should
sounds
go back.
Yeah, without kids though. He and I want to go back without kids for sure. So
Yeah, I mean, it's fun for adults too.
right, you got to bring kids at some point in their lives at the right age. But
Am I not invited because it turns out I don't like rides?
you can watch. Well, if we do have the kids with us, you can watch the kids that don't want to come.
I'm gonna have a kid so soon.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like.
No, I wasn't saying you don't have kids. I was saying since you don't want to go on the ride, you can watch everybody's kids.
I mean,
it's a ride the kids don't want to go on.
Yeah, fair enough. I like the magic. I like the magical nature though, and I loved Epcot. Epcot was sweet.
Epcot's amazing. We got to go to so many countries.
Yes.
Also, not to bring this back to like business and stuff, from a product standpoint, like Disney is.
They're masters.
Like,
I mean,
just the experience, the cleanliness of the park, and even if you go there and then if you go to any other park, like you immediately notice the difference.
Disney has influenced Rocket Club so much because I see Rocket Club more as a Disney than I do as like a mathnasium.
Like creating a magical experience.
Yeah, like exactly. Like when a kid walks in, I want them to just feel like it's a magical experience from start to finish. And also like we have characters now. We have Cosmo, who's our huge astronaut. Maybe we could splice a picture of him in. But yeah, no, I mean that trip really did inspire me a lot. That was 2013, right? I think it was 2012, 2013. It was.
You were taking the notes yesterday. I don't know.
It was a very influential time for me. I went to Japan shortly after that too, and like that really. I mean, it was really cool at that stage. Just all the places we went, I feel like influenced other businesses that we did and projects that we did together.
Yeah, that's another fun reason to travel together. We're always like analyzing the businesses and figuring out ideas and coming up with ideas. Like in Seattle, we came up with a sunglass company that we didn't really start, but
we almost started it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually bought a couple boxes of sunglasses.
Thank you for buying them, Jeff.
Yeah.
we had some logos made too.
Stuart Terry's,
yeah,
right?
Sorry, Wells.
Shout out Wells.
The way that we came up with the name is the hotel that we were staying on. I think.
Oh, we had an Airbnb, and it was on the corner of Stewart and Terry.
Yeah, it was like an Airbnb condo.
Yeah, Airbnb condo. It was like a fancy condo.
It was on the corner of Stewart and Terry. Like, that seems like a great sunglass.
And that was just one business that we've named after something from a trip, right? So we made it Rain Combos, where we it's from Workaholics. It's a stupid joke, but
Workaholics is an amazing show.
Phenomenal show. Yeah, we were watching it last night. But yeah, we named our entire business 4 buildings after Raining Combos. And then we went. Waka Park was from Montreal.
Yep.
Maxwell James.
So it was our Lyft driver in Seattle, right?
Lyft driver in Seattle.
So like when we were talking about naming these projects, basically, like sets of buildings that we're doing as projects, naming them after kind of experiences on the trips.
From the trips. That was always fun.
It keeps things interesting and lighter. And like, even though it doesn't matter that it's called like Maxwell James LLC, it's just like when we see it, it gives us a little bit of a smile.
Well, also you have these like extremely fancy bankers that are like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
What is Waka Park?
Yeah, Raining Combos?
Yeah.
They always ask, and then there's a fun story to tell, like the closing table.
Yeah.
Well, we once did sort of an extended HPM trip where I brought sort of my whole salt shaker family to this cabin in Colorado, and part of like one of the things I had on the list for us to discuss was like fun LLC names when we were there. So I don't know, Joe would have to tell you the status of it, but I have one called You Down With LLC, and it's Dennis Jaffe, I believe, came up with that one. It's one of my favorites. But
you own buildings in Jersey City under that name.
Okay, you know what it is. Yeah. Yeah, You Down With LLC.
That's amazing. It's a great name.
And yeah, we have lots of fun names like that. Keeps things interesting.
Love it. I wonder if we'll come up with one on this trip.
We'll have to think about it.
We did just take that too. Okay, yeah, we got the whole night ahead of us.
I love it. Well, one thing I wanted to go back and talk about a little bit was parenting and parenting styles. We brought that up yesterday, potentially talking about it. So Vin has 2 kids, a third on the way. I have 2. Alex is about to have 1. We don't have to go too crazy deep, but yeah, any thoughts that you would share on your parenting style or how you feel about raising kids?
Yeah, like you said, you go really deep on this topic. Everybody's got their own style or their own thing. For me, I think one, just trying to set an example every single day, because I mean, kids are watching and listening everything that you do.
Yeah.
And so
even when you think they're not, they are.
Yeah, absolutely. You think they're watching a show, but out of the corner of their eye, they're like watching what you're doing. So whether it's doing chores around the house or working, like just trying to set an example, exercising, keeping myself in shape, try to get them involved in some of these things as well, right? Hey, why don't you help me fold the laundry a little?
Yeah. Keelan loves doing that.
Yeah. Pia loves to fold like the dishcloths.
Well, I asked her yesterday if she did any chores. At first it was no, but then I think we brought up the dishcloths.
Sometimes. And I try to get her to like exercise with me a little bit when I'm, I'll try to get her to come outside and play, in like the driveway or in the garage, where I've got my weights are in the garage.
Is that why she was asking me how much I could bench? That makes more sense now. I get it. All right.
I ask her, but I'll like try to get her, help her do like a couple of pull-ups and I don't know, some yoga stuff. She likes doing like yoga.
Yeah.
So really like setting, leading by example, I think is the number one most important thing.
Absolutely. Kids don't listen to you, but they certainly emulate you. And like, as frustrated as my parents I know were with me growing up, where like I would be very tough for them, but everybody else would be like, oh, he's so great and being nice, whatever. But I just think that's just kind of how it had to be. But all the while not listening to them directly, I was emulating them. So
definitely.
Yeah. Oh, and I got a shout out while we're talking anything parenting, Daily Dad email from Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday, one of my favorite authors. I get his email, Daily Dad, and I'd read some of his books, and I was like, someone told me about his email. So I signed up for it, and not knowing that it was going to have such a huge impact on my life. But, it's a daily email you get every day. It's written from a dad's perspective, so it's daily dad, but like I would certainly suggest, regardless of your mom, dad, uncle, whatever, I think it's worthwhile. But really just gives you perspective each morning in a short paragraph about like a parent in history and like Abraham Lincoln and how he treated his sons and stuff like that. But that just really gives you perspective. And the thing that I take away the most from it is that as parents, we are there to love and support our kids in whatever it is they want to endeavor. We're not there to push them to do what we want to do or to be how we want them to be. You need to show them how to be good people, but you need to love and support them, because trying to get them to be who you want them to be is likely to just push them away. And true wealth in life is having a family that wants to hang out with you when you're old.
Makes sense.
So I know that stuff, but Daily Dad just really makes it hit home for me. So yeah, I know I've told you to sign up. Mm-hmm. Ryan Holiday, you're invited to be on the podcast. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And, for me, I'm not a parent yet, but I've had, I'm older. I'm 37. Megan's 36. And we've gotten to watch all of our friends have kids already. So first, with my sister, my brother-in-law, Ellie and Mike, they're phenomenal parents. Jack and Liam, their kids have turned out just unbelievable. And all my friends from Westfield, it's really amazing getting to watch everyone. And then you guys, and then all of our other friends from BU, it's just really special. I think it comes from us all having phenomenal parents and being really, really lucky. And I just fully agree with what you guys are saying. It's all about what you do. It's not about what you say at all. I feel like you could say anything you want, but they're going to emulate what you're doing. So yeah, I'm so excited to have a kid. I'm also really anxious. I want to mess my child up as little as possible.
Yeah, same.
It's
that's my biggest fear,
goals,
is
right?
What am I doing to mess them up? Because every kid is messed up a little bit, but it's I think about it a lot, and I think that the fact that I'm already trying to be conscious of it, Jess and I will talk about oh man, when we said this, did it do this? And it's the fact that we're conscious of it and conscious of their mental health is different than a previous generation already. So as scared as I get about that stuff,
not to say that previous generations weren't also worried about that.
But, sure.
But it's definitely a shift.
Yeah. And culture, we've shifted around mental health and stuff like that.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think yes, each getting a blurb on parenting is probably sufficient, given that it's not a parenting podcast. But to wrap back around to the podcast, so people are the answer. This is episode 100. I'd long wanted to do some kind of podcast. I've always had interest in broadcast, and realized, that I had been meeting incredible people doing incredible things. And there's just, like you were saying, Vin, earlier, there's just so much negative shit out there. And I want to bring to light all the great work that people are doing. And, people are truly the most impactful beings, obviously, in our world. But I don't think everyone necessarily appreciates it enough. So that was the hope, is that this podcast could add some appreciation and also some inspiration for people and how they want to be.
Yeah, and I think you've done it. 100 episodes. Pretty impressive.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I would have preferred to be a little bit more consistent in my releases. I was for a while, but that hopefully will get back on track. But I do feel proud and accomplished just committing to something and doing it, regardless of how many people are watching or listening to it. I feel that every episode is a gift to myself, to my children, to my guests, and to their families and children at the very least. If no one else was getting anything out of it, I think it's that. I get a lot out of it personally, talking to these incredible people. So if nothing else, I'm happy with that. And, I would certainly like to make more of them. And, yeah.
Has anyone ever brought pickles on the podcast before?
I think you're a first. A lot of them are digital, so they probably have their pickles on the side, where you just out of the shot. I
was kind of excited that I was the first. Okay, I might.
But we'll say you're definitely the first live pickle eater.
And Gushers. That's
first. Yeah, sadly, the first time Gushers is their first time sponsoring the podcast. So, except they didn't. Sorry, Gushers. Anything else you guys were hoping to cover while we're doing this? I'm just seeing that pickle jar on that ledge it's crushing my soul.
I'm taking it down.
Okay.
Anything else we want to cover? I just love you guys. I'm so grateful that we've had this friendship for this long and we do these trips. This is the best. I love these trips so much. We talk about such like deep stuff, like just stuff that you don't get to talk about on a regular basis.
You get to like, it's like kind of like a step out of day-to-day life where you can sort of like zoom out a little bit. Like just catching up with you guys, it's like we talk all the time, we text all the time, but like we don't necessarily know the like minutia going on in our lives, and like getting time to just do this and separate from everything gives us the time to sort of like zoom out on our lives together and just the world and society. So I certainly appreciate it.
I know we've done 9 trips together, but like we've also had weddings and bachelor parties and things. Like, there's
a lot of non-HPM trips.
right between
right.
That, so
weddings, bachelor parties, college reunion type stuff.
Like, we've been very fortunate to get together pretty on a very consistent basis.
Right.
We average, I'd say, right, like once a year.
Yeah, I would say so. Like, I mean, COVID threw some wrenches and things. The fact that I hadn't met your girls until this week was crazy to me. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. Life gets in the way, but I appreciate that we prioritize making time for this. Even if it can't be annually, I know even as we get busier and have more kids, like we all appreciate the trip so much that we're going to make sure they happen to some extent. So
I think one thing that's interesting to reflect on is like, okay, so 2010 was our first trip, right? So 14 years later is today. It's wild to think that like Vin's going to have 3 children, that you have 2 children, like that we've done like certain, like Vin, like you didn't even know what artificial intelligence was in 2010, right?
Oh, no, not.
Now you own a company that's an artificial. Yeah. I never thought I'd start an after-school program for children. Like 14 years from now, like what's that going to be like?
I definitely wouldn't have thought I'd make a movie. When I was in 2010.
Yeah, I thought Alex, you do the real estate stuff forever.
I mean, luckily we still own it, so that's nice.
Right, we still have the real estate business feeding us a little bit. I like to say it's sort of the bread and butter or the fuel to the fire for the rest of the stuff I just want to like figure out.
Yeah, I mean, we've been able to watch all of our journeys over the last 14 years, which is pretty amazing.
I never thought Jeff would create a podcast because I don't even know if I would have known what a podcast was in 2010.
Dude, I was a nerd, man. I was listening to podcasts in high school.
Nerd.
Yeah, tech podcasts. Leo the tech guy, shout out.
I do sometimes think back to, I don't know if you guys remember, but like we used to share a lot of articles.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
On like our Telegram.
We still do sometimes.
Yeah, we do. We did it a lot.
It used to be more, yeah.
And like a lot of it was like science related and stuff. And sometimes I think like, what if we like, in 10 years ago had turned that into like a podcast where we just talked about like these different with each other. We just we talk about them on the podcast.
I mean, it would certainly be interesting to go back and like look in the history at some of the links and stuff. Like we used to do a lot via email too. Like, I mean, I certainly have.
That would be fun.
Most of that, just to see like what we were sharing, and like now that like there's AI in your email, at least in mine, like I could like ask it to find this stuff. So like we should try that out later. Shout out to Superhuman, the email app that is fantastic and saves my life frequently. But they've got great AI.
Are they owned by Gushers?
Sadly not.
Oh.
I don't even know how they'd feel about Gushers. Ryan Holiday, I'm sorry if you don't like Gushers and you wouldldn't give it to your kids. We're eating it as adults.
We'll cut the Gushers part out.
No.
You're leaving it in?
Gushers is part of this.
All right, fair enough. That'd be fun to like analyze an old article that we sent around.
Mm-hmm.
And,
shout out fellow Gushers lover Drew Marcotte. Sorry.
Oh, Drew Marcotte. Hey, Drew. Well, hold on. I just want to talk about one more thing on predictions 14 years from now.
Oh.
All right. So are you guys down to do some predictions 14 years from now? We're talking about when we started the trips 14 years ago, and we could never have imagined the things that we're doing right now. 14 years from now, what do you guys think?
Or like either where do you want to be or where do you think?
Oh, I was thinking like in the world.
In the world, where the world will be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. You're going to put this on me first?
Oh, I can do it. You want me to go first?
I mean,
Let's just...
All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as you know, I like to have sort of an optimistic, like rosy picture of the world. So, in the next, 14 years, I foresee, I mean, there's no question that AI is going to continue to exponentially improve and grow. And I think that in that time frame, like we'll probably get to a place where it's deeply impactful in everyone's lives every day. And I hope that we're using it to create more time for ourselves and, help people reach their maximum potential like we talked about. And you talked about like giving people enough to sustain themselves and survive where they don't have to focus on that every day. I think AI can be a tool in that. And there's I'm disappointed in the amount of fear in society around it. There certainly is a lot to be fear. There are things to be fearful of, but I think the path toward abundance is much easier to traverse with the help of AI. And we talked earlier about how there's bad actors in society that are only focused on money. And I just hope the good actors are faster moving than the bad, because I think AI can be super transformative. So, I hope that we're in 14 years living in a society where people feel a little bit more free. Certainly our politics aren't pointing us that way, but I have faith in humanity and for the good to overwhelm the bad. And so, I see an abundant future where information is at our fingertips in everything that we do, and we're able to make the most impact with our brain, funneling out minutia on a daily basis. And like the exponential growth of AI, we're going to see in the exponential growth of human impact on a daily basis.
Love that. Ben, what do you think?
I had, as a founder of an AI company, I have to agree that AI will be transformational over the next 14 years. I think especially in education and in healthcare, where there are only so many teachers per student, so many doctors per person, and we're going to have the ability today to basically create individualized tutors and very efficient businesses and programs like Rocket Club that can personalize and customize the experience to that child's the way that they learn, essentially. And the same thing with healthcare. I think just personalized medicine. I think we're going to see an interesting movement, like a health movement, because especially in America, there's just so many problems with chronic diseases in particular, and they're not getting any better. They're only getting worse, as we prescribe more and more drugs. So I think kind of maybe the millennial generation-ish on are a lot more health conscious, and so I think that'll continue, and hopefully that is the case. I think a healthier society just benefits everybody.
Healthier society is a happier society, more productive society.
All right, so Yankees are about to play in the World Series, so I'm predicting 14 World Series wins by the Yankees. I think that's a pretty obvious one. I agree about healthcare and education. I think, you guys were asking me before, how are you using AI for Rocket Club? So it's so cool because we're able to customize math problems specifically for the interests of our members, right? And that's just such a small example. I told these guys I'm taking an advanced math class right now just to brush up on some of my old math skills, and it's unbelievable to be able to utilize artificial intelligence to help explain complex problems that you are learning from class and to break it down step by step. That's something that even a year ago wasn't possible. You'd have to either go to your professor or go to a tutor for them to be able to help break that down. It's unbelievable, and it's helping me advance so much quicker than when I was a child. I remember when I was a child being in class and just getting so frustrated if I wasn't able to figure something out. And then you have to have the human experience of going to another human and being I need help with this. And maybe they're busy, maybe it's too expensive. Now you have basically a free tool that can break it down for you in the way that you need it broken down. So, amplify that not just over the education industry, but all other industries. Yeah. People are going to be able to start using this technology in ways we can't even imagine yet.
Yep.
And I am fearful of pieces of artificial intelligence. I'm not going to say that I'm not, but I am also extremely optimistic on where this is going. And I think 14 years from now, we're maybe going to look at this portion of this podcast and be wow, we never could have imagined what we're seeing now.
Yeah. It's regardless, our minds will probably be blown.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's exciting. That's something to look forward to.
Very exciting.
What world are our kids going to grow up in? It'll be interesting to see. And like I said, society likes to point us in a negative direction on where they think the future is going. But we know that I think we're aiming towards a future of abundance and care and compassion. So
definitely.
Well, I really appreciate you guys joining me for episode 100, a monumental episode for the endeavor, and great to have two of my very favorite people in the world on for it. and excited for many more years together and to follow this up in the future with another HPM podcast.
Congrats, Jeff.
Thank you.
And I love you guys.
Love you. Thanks for checking out this episode of People Are the Answer. For more information, go to peoplearetheanswer.com. Please like, subscribe, rate, whatever you can do on various platforms. We really appreciate the support. And if you're interested, check out my other podcast, The Late Game Podcast. You can learn more at thelategame.com. Thanks.